I really want to do today. Today I wanted to show you this here is all this swelling. This is from having too much fluid. I got a lot of stuff coming into that IV, and now it's starting to show in my face. My hands a little bit, not too much. I tend to swell. I tend to give myself a black eye. I kick my own butt when I'm in the hospital, believe it or not. I end up kicking my own butt. I do a lot of damage to myself, and it's not done purposely. It's just fighting the pain, and you end up doing stuff to yourself. Some people do it, some don't. I knew this one sickle cell patient who would be in so much pain, she would pull out her hair until she pulled it out. She would have a bald spot. She'd pull her hair out. And it's just because she's in pain and try to focus it somewhere else. Or we sleep in weird positions. Well, I know I do. I sleep in a really weird position. I don't ever lay back because it's usually my back that hurts. I'm usually sitting up. But I want to come at you today because I forgot to say at the end of my video diary yesterday that if you have any questions or anything that you would like to know, put the questions in my inbox or on my wall, and I will answer your questions. Don't be ashamed to ask questions. That's how you know things. I don't mind answering them. Matter of fact, I like it when people ask questions. That means they're trying to understand where I'm coming from. So I appreciate it when you ask questions. I was going to say something. I forgot what I was going to say. I got plenty of brain farts while I'm in here too. Or just getting ready to say something and then you forget. It'll come back to me later. But then I wouldn't know how I forgot what I was mentioning for. Medicine causes, there's a lot of side effects to medicines. Brain farts is one of them. Another reason why I refuse to take a lot of the medications is because if you ever seen a commercial and it tells you how good the medication is, and then they speak to the side effects, and then you realize, okay, I can get well or I can lose a toe. That's how I feel about medication. There's some stuff that I can just live without. It does a lot of damage to your organs. Sickle cell patients cannot get organ replacements that I know of. Because for one, it's too hard for our bodies to accept a new thing in our body without sending us into a crisis. So, I don't mess with anything that can mess with my organs. There's a lot of side effects that I refuse to deal with. One thing that I would like to do is I would like to go through my family, starting with my dad. I want him to send a video to my wall. If you're listening, Dad, how do you feel about sickle cell? You're a carrier of the trait. And how do you feel about having a child with sickle cell? Now, I say trait. One thing I forgot to mention yesterday. It's an hereditary sickle cell disease. The full-blown disease is hereditary. Both parents have to have the trait for you to have the disease. The trait cannot turn into the disease, contrary to what other people say. Some doctors go to school just to get dumber. But sickle cell trait cannot turn into the disease. Now, if you get another disease on top of having the trait, yes, you can go into a crisis. You can flare up, and it will act as if you have the full-blown disease. But sickle cell trait cannot turn into the disease itself. Both parents have to be a carrier, and only 1 out of 4 of their children will get the disease. 1 out of 4. Hello. So when people need to be more responsible of who they're having children with, not just with sickle cell, but other hereditary diseases. Especially if you want a healthy child, you really need to be careful of who you're having children with, because there are more sickle cell patients now than there has ever been, and that's because no one really knows. Some people don't even know they have the trait. A lot of people need to, and I advise a lot of people to get tested to see if they have sickle cell trait, especially before you decide to have children. Make sure your partner doesn't have it. They do have a way of separating it, keeping your newborn from getting it. I heard of, I'm not sure about, I'm going to look into it so I can tell you for sure of what it is. I would like my dad to send a video to my page, post on my wall for everyone to see, telling how he lives with sickle cell trait, because you do have people with sickle cell trait to have flare-ups that aren't as bad as the disease, but they're still flare-ups nonetheless, and they still hurt, they're still a nuisance, and they're still, things you have to be cautious with. And to have a child with sickle cell anemia, with trait, you can have things like a lot of muscle spasm. I have a brother, one of my brothers have sickle cell trait. He has really, really bad muscle spasms, and it's from the trait, and from not taking care of yourself properly. But he would get these awful cramps. Same with my sisters, they get pretty vicious symptoms as well, but they're just carriers. They don't have the full-blown disease. There is a difference. Have any questions, please ask me. I will inform you of whatever you need to know. I'm going to be doing a little bit more research. I'm also going to be having what is it called? When you group a bunch of people together, I'll have a speaker come out, and we're going to sit and talk, inform people of what sickle cell is, how it can be treated. Any questions you want to know, I'll have a health care person. I just took a lot of medicine this morning, y'all. My words aren't exactly where I want them to be, but you understand what I'm saying. So there'd be some people go to a nurse who can explain a lot of things to you that you might not understand coming from me. You might understand better coming from someone else. I don't have an exact date. So as soon as I get a date and somewhere to have this soiree, whatever you want to call it, I don't know, meeting, group, whatever you call it, I'll figure it out later. You're more welcome. Come out. We're gonna have food, all that. Learn more. Get together, and start my awareness program. I would like for Nyasha to get in touch with me. If she can, please. Thanks, babe. What else? Well, that's all I can think of right now, because I'm sure I'm just rambling. I might fall asleep here in a second. But that's all I wanted to say this morning. You will be seeing a lot of these videos. I'm pulling not just the sickle cell awareness, but women's empowerment group as well. For young people, young women, older women, just women to empower themselves. Just a lot of stuff. Just getting ready to happen. So, don't be so distant, you might miss out. But other than that, be blessed. Love y'all. I'm gonna take a nap. As medicine kicked in. And so I'm gonna take a nap, because I have no idea what we're gonna be talking about here in a minute. So I'm gonna cut it off right now.
Good evening. Welcome to my office, Worldwide Word Outreach Ministries Church, and I'm actually here to respond to a request of my daughter, Yolanda McCullough, who is in the hospital, and she asked for a video posted on her wall pertaining to sickle cell and what it is to be a parent to have a child with sickle cell. And I want to say first that sickle cell is as she said in the video, she said that sickle cell is a inherited disease, and this is true. It's inherited from the parents. So from my point of view, from my side of the picture, I want to try to give an explanation on what it's like to be a parent with a child with full-blown sickle cell anemia. First, the effects of sickle cell is it's devastating, especially on a little child. When a baby is born with sickle cell, it's a hard road. When you have a newborn baby that is screaming to the top of their lungs and they're in serious pain, and as a parent, there is nothing you can do about it. You feel helpless. Your hands are tied, and the only thing you can do is try to get them to a doctor and hope that the doctor can guess at what's going on with a newborn baby who can't talk, who can't explain their pain, and can't even tell why they're hollering or crying. So it's a hard road as they get older. The knowledge is a lot of help. So knowledge can be power, and so when a baby is newborn, you have very little knowledge on what sickle cell is. And so what me and Landa are hoping to do is to bring more awareness to sickle cell and what sickle cell is all about. First off, I want to speak about the effects of sickle cell. And you have to understand that we are talking about a parent's view of their child as they grow up with sickle cell. And anemia is one problem of sickle cell, and that's why it's called sickle cell anemia. But anemia is when the body, is drained of energy, and the blood is slowed down, and when the blood slows, the body gets cold. And so a person with anemia or sickle cell anemia experiences a lot of cold. It can be hot in their environment, but they're cold. Their hands are cold to the touch. And so anemia is one thing that is serious in sickle cell. Also, there is the pain. A lot of sickle cell patients suffer pain that's so excruciating that it gets to the point to where they don't even want to be touched. Now you can imagine this in a small baby who is hollering and screaming, and everybody keeps trying to pick it up, and just makes the baby holler that much more because it's extremely painful. So a parent gets in a position where they really feel helpless. They really feel defeated, and there's nothing they can do for this baby. Landa, as a little baby, did a lot of hollering and screaming, and as she got older, she was able to articulate what the problem was and let us know that it hurts to be touched. So pain is at a very high level in a sickle cell patient. Now, sickle cell patients are also prone to infections, and so because the blood is clogged up in the vein, because when a red blood cell changes shape, it's no longer round, but it has a sickle-like shape, or a quarter moon, or a half moon, or whatever, quarter moon. It has a C shape, and it's shaped like a C, and it gets caught in the blood vessel, and it stops blood flow. And when that happens, the body becomes prone to infection, and because it can't fight off disease, because the blood flow in that area has slowed down or stopped. Now, a lot of times you find the blood don't completely come to a stop, but it does slow down, and in some cases it does come to a complete stop. And that's when you find that when a sickle cell patient touches you and they're cold, their hands are cold to the touch. When they touch you, their hands are literally cold, and they have cold feet, and they have a tendency to always want to keep their feet warm because it's very easy to get cold. Also, there is jaundice, which is another problem sickle cell patients go through, and it's one called acute chest syndrome or pneumonia. And they have a tendency to catch pneumonia a lot. And in this, there's a lot of swelling in the body, mostly in the hands, arms, and face, where the swelling will mostly take place. But there are a lot of sickle cell patients like Landa who will swell all over. So swelling is one thing that is obvious in most sickle cell patients. Also, there's the severe problem of organ damage. Organ damage comes from the fact that the blood has clotted in the vessels, and at that area where the blood clogs at, it causes a lot of cell damage. And in that cell damage, the more damage takes place with the cells and stuff like that. These things cannot be replaced. And once the cell has been damaged, that damage is there. And the sickle cell patient has to deal with that on a really long-term basis. And then there's one thing I did not hear Landa speak about, and that's sickle cell patients are prone to strokes. Now, some sickle cell patients have stroke without even knowing it, because the stroke it comes in so mildly where the brain records the stroke, but the body on the outside, you don't see it, you don't know it. So you can have a sickle cell patient that is walking around with you and kicking it and happy and having a full day and doing just fine outwardly, but inwardly they're actually suffering a stroke at that time, could be suffering a stroke at that time. And then there's the I call it psychosocial issues. That means they have a hard time with their interactions socially, emotionally, and academically. They have a hard time adjusting because what most kids consider common, their play, the way they do things, it's common. And then when you have a daughter or a child that has sickle cell, and you notice that they don't play with the other kids as often, they don't join in most of the academic activities because it can cause pain. And so the wrong kind of pain, if they fall, hit their knee against the ground or something like this, even a pain like that can trigger a sickle cell crisis. Sickle cell crisis is when you take and go into a high pain level to where you have to be hospitalized, and then you have to have a blood transfusion. And what the doctors are trying to do is to replace the blood the blood cells that have been sickled with whole healthy blood cells that can be replaced. Now there's one thing I really want to give a warning about, because it's one thing I learned as a parent, that when a sickle cell patient develops a fever, it is crucial. It's very crucial that you get that patient, that person, to the hospital as soon as possible, because fevers indicate an infection. Infection indicate that there has been a blood clot somewhere and there has been cell damage. And the longer you wait, the more damage occurs before that person gets to a hospital. And so you want to make sure that you deal with that situation as soon as possible. So even a small fever is in a sickle cell person is a sign that they need to go to the hospital. So as Landa said, sickle cell anemia is inherited from the parents. Landa's mom had the trait. I have a larger level of a trait than her mom did, and so I do have sickle cell crisis. Given enough, if I have an infection or I experience pain in any kind of way, it can trigger me to go into a what she was talking about was it's called a lightweight crisis. It's not like hers. I don't have a crisis like Landa, but I do go into crisis, but I can deal with it with pain pills and so forth, whereas Landa has to have the blood transfusions and so forth, and she has to get her fluids every so often to try to keep those crises under control. And I can control mine with proper eating and proper care of my body, and I suffer a lot of pain because those with the trait, I know I'm talking a lot about the sickle cell anemia, but let's view the one with the trait for a minute, because it's very important, as Landa said, that people know who you are, who you're getting with, because two parents with the trait can produce a baby with full-blown sickle cell. So if you have the trait and you don't know, then there are some signs that you can watch out for that will help you understand. And the sickle cell trait brings a lot of exhaustion. It makes a person sleep a lot. I've noticed that people try to associate laziness with sickle cell patients or those with the trait, but it's really not being lazy. They have no energy. That's where anemia comes in at, and the trait will have a person tired, drained. They don't have the energy that the average person has. Also, the trait can also produce a whole lot of headaches, migraine headaches, so forth, and body pains, just as a sickle cell patient has. And a sickle cell patient will often deal with migraine headaches. So sickle cell turns the healthy blood cells, red cells, into abnormal sickle-shaped red cells, which can cause blood vessels to clot. As I said earlier, the blood cells pile up in one vein. They pile up in a vein and they block the entrance to the vein, where they're actually blocking blood flow. And like I said, they do cause cell damage in that area. Among other problems, what causes sickle cell anemia is it's a low hemoglobin count, and I don't have all the information as to what causes low hemoglobin in the body, but that's what triggers and what starts sickle cell. So as Landa said, you have to really get informed. You have to really get the knowledge on what it is that sickle cell does in a person's body. Like I said, with me, with the trait, Landa's mom had the trait, but she didn't have the trait as severely as I do. And so this produced a daughter with sickle cell. And as she said, 1 out of every 4 kids will have the full-blown disease. And so knowing all this information and getting all this information, having all this information, one can be more aware of what a child is going through. And the child who is going through can also know that, no matter how much a parent loves you, when you're little, there's nothing they can do for you. They're helpless. So check, before, have both partners check and get a blood test, find out if you have the trait, and what can you do to avoid having a child with full-blown sickle cell. I don't know if there is a technique or a medical avenue that a person can go down to prevent it, since sickle cell is a DNA problem. It's not like a regular ailment. This is in a person's DNA. Once they're born, that sickle cell is in their DNA. And so that's why sickle cell is uncurable. There's no cure to date, as far as I know, for sickle cell, and there's no cure for those who carry the trait. And so my words would be to those who are listening or watching to just take and get more knowledge about sickle cell, get more information on sickle cell as to what the effects are, so you can recognize the effects in you or your child, for that matter. You have an obligation. Back when Landa was born, they didn't do sickle cell testing as much as they do now. And so when Landa's mom and I got together, we had no idea that either one of us had the trait. And this, like I said, is a lack of knowledge. So I'm quite sure that, with the knowledge, we probably, still would have had kids, but we would have known when she was born, how to deal with it instead of causing. I believe that we did cause a lot more pain, because when she was a little baby and she would holler, we would grab her up. And when we grabbed her up, we just caused that much more pain. So we would have known then, the best way to deal with that is take her to the doctor and get as much help from a doctor as we could. But a lot of times we didn't even know what the hollering and what her crying was all about, and we tried to get through the day. And that caused her to suffer for a whole day when she didn't have to. She could have had pain meds then. So as she got older, we became more aware. We did the sickle cell research. We looked into what was the cause, what were the effects, what were the symptoms, and so forth of sickle cell. And as we learned that, we began to learn better ways of handling our child. And so we managed to handle her a lot better with the knowledge as she got older. And I want to say that first off, one of the main things I want you to remember is that awareness is one of the best weapons for those with sickle cell. More aware, be more aware, and the more aware that you are, the more that you can help deal with these situations. So I hope I answered all your questions, Landa. I hope I gave enough information for people to become more aware, and I hope that you understand better what it is like for a parent to go through, because it's a hard road. The parent deals with just as much pain, but it's not physical pain, it's emotional pain that the parent goes through when they have to suffer watching their child grow up on a daily basis, in and out the hospital, IVs stuck in their child, and child swelling and then going down, and fevers and all that stuff. It's a hard road. It's a hard road. So I think that the parent should be actually consider the parent also of a child that has sickle cell, and not just the child with the sickle cell, because that parent is suffering a lot too. And so the child has more physical pain, but the parent is going through that, empathetically. The parent has to go through all of it with the child. And as long as the parent is going through it with the child, then I think, from my own personal view, I think that a parent experiences sickle cell anemia, whether they have it or not. They experience it right along with the child. So when the child is suffering, the parent is suffering. When the child is in pain, the parent is in pain. So know that it's not an easy walk for a parent. And I know that it's not an easy walk for the child with sickle cell as well. The road is a lot harder for that child, and the child suffers a lot more than the parent. So that in itself is more pain for the parent, because the parent knows that the child suffers a whole lot more than they're suffering. And the day of a cure would be like, for a parent with a child, it would be like the rapture, I guess, because the joy of knowing that your child is being cured from sickle cell is amazing, and it probably is one that can't even enter the minds of people about sickle cell. And it's like nothing you can do to change it. You have to try to learn to live with it, and as you try to learn to live with it, you just make it through the days the best you can. A lot of days, I suffer the pains and the effects of sickle cell as well. So a lot of days that Landa's in the hospital from things that the weather has done to trigger her sickle cell, they've also triggered pains in me. So I'm sometimes I'm even bedridden, stuck in bed because I can't get out because of the pains, bad joints. That's one of the major things. Your joints are destroyed so quickly with sickle cell, and so you have bad joints, and even people with the trait suffer the swelling, the fevers, the anemia, and we go through a lot. So Landa, I hope that I've answered your questions. I hope that people have a better understanding. I hope there's more insight into what sickle cell has done. Along with this video, I've also added in it some sections where you can see the actual sickle cell, and you can see what blood does inside the blood veins, inside the blood vessels, and you can see how sickle cell actually causes pain. So pay attention to the video I got here. I've also reconnected Landa's video to this one so that you can hear her along with me, and you'll also be able to see another small video on what sickle cell does and the effects of sickle cell. So here at the end, watch the video, enjoy the video, get knowledge, get awareness, and get to know what sickle cell does. So we'll sign off with this video, and we'll say have a blessed evening, Have a blessed day, and check with my videos on Concerned of the Spirit on Facebook also. Don't forget those. Those Worldwide Word Outreach Ministries Church. We post videos on concerns of the Spirit. And I can also say that this is one of those concerns of the Spirit. So watch out for the other videos. I have Concerns of the Spirit 1 through 9 so far. I think it is 1 through 9 already on Facebook. So look those up, check them out, watch them. Right now I'm discussing the 7 seals of Revelation. So get the videos, watch those videos. Check back with Landa, like she said. If you got any questions, put them in Landa's inbox and talk with Landa. If you have any questions you want to present to me as a father, then you can also put those in my inbox, and I'll try to get back with you, okay? So have a blessed day.
Know the effects.
Some of the effects of sickle cell disease include anemia, pain, infection, jaundice, acute chest syndrome, pneumonia, organ damage, stroke, psychosocial issues, social, emotional, academic. When the sticky sickle cells become lodged in blood vessels, a number of problems can occur depending on the location of the blockage. Clogging of the spleen can prevent it from fighting off germs in the body, leading to increased risk of infections. This is why a fever is a medical emergency for a child with sickle cell disease.
Pain as it relates to sickle cell disease is one of the most common complications that we see in patients who have sickle cell anemia or sickle cell disease. When you don't have oxygen, when you have a lack of oxygen to the tissues, it causes tissue damage and sometimes tissue death, what we call tissue necrosis, which sends off signals that cause pain. And there are times where there can be chronic areas that have had repeated damage, so repeated insults of lack of oxygen to a particular tissue, which can cause more permanent damage or scarring.